All right, welcome to the Krug Show meets the 49er Rush podcast. John Chapman in the house. It's a Saturday, one of my favorite pods of the week, one of my favorite streams of the week. Let's go. Off and running on the Krug Show. John Chapman in the house. It's on both channels. Hit like and subscribe. We're live. Welcome. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle on my side, and check them out. Check out Pig and a Pickle. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. It's 9:19 West Coast. That means it's 19 minutes afternoon back east. If you're watching us live on YouTube, do us a huge favor. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure it's turned on so you never miss a show of either one of us. And remember, once the live stream wraps up, you can catch the full replay anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever your favorite platform is. Just search The Krug Show, and you'll find me on my side. You've got a lot to get to today, so we're going to jump right in. But awesome to see everybody. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. My good friend Anthony Catania is a proud sponsor. He's at 831-521-5264, and he's a great follow on Instagram at Sharp Corners 831 on the gram. As you can see over John's head, we're also brought to you by Clawdaddy Arcades, and we'll have more from Clawdaddy Arcades in a bit. But let's just jump right into it, because yesterday we got some news. Camp officially started when the rookies reported on the 15th. We are 3 days away. Tuesday, the veterans report on the 22nd. Wednesday, the 23rd, I will be out on the practice field for training camp practice numero uno. But yesterday, we got some news, and it wasn't great news. The following 49er players have been placed on the active non-football injury list, and that is George Odom and Ben Barch. Barch is supposed to be the starter at left guard, stepping in for Aaron Banks. And then the following players have been placed on the physically unable to perform list, which is just a list that nobody ever wants to be on, whether you're in football or not. Malik Mustafa, Andre Dillard, Yatir Gross-Matos, Curtis Robinson, Ricky Pearsall. And what does that mean? Does that mean Isaiah Hodgins is wide receiver 2 coming into training camp? What exactly does it all mean? John Chapman is here. Jauan Jennings has said, I want an extension or I want to be dealt. There's all kinds of speculation as to what JJ potentially could be asking for. Niners Nation's got a great story out by Patrick Holloway today. What would you take in a trade for Jauan Jennings? So we have a lot to discuss right out of the chute. And, John, let's just get right into it. Give me your takeaway from yesterday's news. Is the big story Ben Barch? Is the big story Ricky Pearsall? Or is there not a big story? And we probably should get into some of the details on this.
Yeah, I was at the gym with the kiddo whenever this came out and totally ruined my workout because it was just like, okay, Brandon Ayuk, we expected. Andre Dillard, not too big of a deal. Malik Mustafa, all right. We kind of anticipated that. But then it was like, Ricky Pearsall? What? Yetur Gross-Matos? What? And then even Ben Barch, like on the NFI. What the hell happened there? That means he got injured away from, working out for football. We don't even know what happened. And so you're talking 3 starters that you weren't anticipating being out. Now, before we all overreact, and that's okay, you can come off of the PUP active anytime before the initial 53-man roster cut, which happens after the preseason game. So Just because these players are on there does not mean they will stay on there. And so, my biggest issue is this. Kyle Shanahan in his last press conference from minicamp was, he'll be ready by training camp. He'll be ready by training camp. He'll be ready by training camp. The whole entire freaking roster, he basically said that except for Ayuk. And, man, you come out and it's just like, nope. The only person that really got healthy was Jair Brown. He's the only person that wasn't on this list that had an opportunity to be on this list. But yeah, man, this hurts. This was a little bit of a gut punch to start things. You add on to that the Jauan Jennings news, the Demarcus, Robinson going to probably be suspended. What that looks like, that wide receiver position is just catastrophic right now.
So, okay, so let's talk about the wide receiver position and some of the solutions. Okay, one, I guess you could run more two tight ends, right? You could go a little bit more 12 personnel. You could go Kittle and Farrell together on the field more often. That's one possibility to kind of usurp some of that. The other thing is, I think we both kind of feel that they've got a very talented backfield, and either you could flex out Christian McCaffrey and use one of the other running backs as a running back, or you could flex out Isaac Guerendo, who's got, he was a high school wide receiver and does run in the 4.3s, even though he doesn't look shape-wise like a wide receiver. He clearly runs like one. And maybe that's the solution. You just take, because I expect Guerendo to be a ton, to look like a ton this summer and in the preseason. So that would be option 2. Option 3, of course, is to go outside and try to add a wide receiver. So let's talk about what they have. Okay, so I don't know where you are with Ayuk, and Mayoko wrote this article. He could be back. He's ahead of schedule. He could be back week 1. And I don't think even Matt really believed that he could be back week 1. But he threw it out there, and I don't know if the Niners said throw it out there. I don't know if the Niners wanted it out there, but he put that out there. He got hurt in week 7. The ACL is generally a year-long injury. It wasn't an ACL. It was an ACL-MCL meniscus. So to me, to think that he's going to be back before week 7 of this year is probably not realistic. And I put it as November. And I think it's like Thanksgiving. To me, I'll put the over-under at Halloween. If he surprises me, he comes back in October. If he doesn't surprise me, he comes back in November. I think it's going to be kind of late November, but whatever. So there's Ayuk. I guess if you thought that Mayoko's report was accurate and that Ayuk really was viable to come back week 1, well, that changes the equation now, doesn't it? Right? Because now you're talking. But I also don't want to see them rush him back. That's a real important thing. Do not rush him back. He needs to come back on his own time. So that's Ayuk. And then you have Demarcus Robinson. From what I was told, John, he could be suspended for 3 weeks, but it doesn't necessarily have to be weeks 1, 2, and 3. That it could be weeks 10, 11, and 12 or something. It could be anything.
That would be ideal.
If it was 10, 11, and 12, or if it was 1, 2, and 3.
Anytime, because like you don't want it early because you don't want it to overlap with Ayuk. You don't want it to overlap with whatever Jauan Jennings going through, and you don't want it to overlap with Ricky Pearsall's hamstring issues, which I do think that Ricky Pearsall will be ready week 1, and I will put that out there. But back to your Ayuk thing. Remember, Kyle Shanahan said week 1's initial injury report, Christian McCaffrey might suit up this week. You remember that?
Right.
For 2 months. So Mayoko's awesome and does amazing work and appreciate all he does for the community. But you do have to understand he is kind of the mouthpiece of the 49ers organization. He will say what they want him to say, and he does say what they want him to say. And so you got to understand where that's coming from.
Sure. So Ayuk, I think, despite the reports, probably I think the reasonable expectation is more like middle of the year, I think, for Ayuk. Robinson, hopefully he's gone, hopefully the 3 weeks that he misses comes at a time where they can easily deal with it. I guess it's somewhat debatable as to when that would be. And then you've got the rookie Watkins, who rookie receivers rarely do anything. You have Jacob Cowing, there's a lot of hope in year 2 that he's stronger and going to contribute, but he contributed virtually nothing as a rookie. Then you have Jauan Jennings, who's like, hey, man, pay me, extend me or trade me. And then after that, it's like it is really dicey. I mean, Isaiah Hodgins has NFL experience, but not a ton of speed or separation ability. And then Nair is just a really raw, undrafted player. Bergen is a return man, I think, solely. The other 3 guys I don't even think are truly NFL. And so that's where they're at. And it makes it makes the next move very interesting. Like, what do they do? What do you do? So, I mean, I'll throw it to you, John. I mean, I did a whole breakdown of all the receivers in the league and saw the deeper teams at wide receiver, but it's all speculation. I mean, and you never know. All these other teams could have injuries, and these players that I'm projecting to potentially be cut could never wind up anywhere near the waiver wire at the cut down. So I do have a couple new names that I want to throw you that I think are interesting, but is there anything that you would do like today to try to, kind of add bodies or competition at wide receiver?
Everybody's throwing out the same two names, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, because you need the outside, like X wide receiver, which those two guys have been predominantly X's their entire careers. And I understand that. But if you're Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper, why would you want to sign with the 49ers knowing that Ayuk's going to return and get that job? Knowing that, well, what if Jauan Jennings, signs? What if Ricky Pearsall is healthy? So, like, I do think that fans need to constantly look at this from both perspectives. Like, the player has to want to come here. And then on top of that, the team has to want to pay them. And I think that is a little bit of a hiccup because, look, if you sign with the 49ers and you're Amari Cooper, like, what's going to happen, your Halloween deadline or whatever your projection for Ayuk, what happens when Ayuk comes back? Do I just ride the bench? Well, if that's the case, I'm not getting guarantees. That dude's made like 180 million in his like career. Like, I ain't coming back to start weeks 1 through 6. Like, I want to be the guy. So I don't know what that looks like and how you flesh all that out. I do like that they have two veteran presence in Russell Gage on the roster, and Russell Gage and Isaiah Hodgins, but they don't move the needle. But they have been with the 49ers for a little bit of time, and I think that there's some trustworthiness factor there. But man, the idea of the 49ers going into the 2025 season with potential starting wide receiver being Isaiah Hodgins or Russell Gage week 1 doesn't give you a lot of confidence at all.
No. Well, especially since you just had a 6-win year, you're trying to establish that it's a new culture, a new team, it's a new year, and you got a very fortuitous schedule, but the history says that that's fool's gold. The last two teams that had that wound up with losing records. So, do not just think, oh, well, it's an easy schedule. They're home. I think we almost have to start our wide receiver discussion with Jauan Jennings because Jennings is, healthy and ready to roll, but wants a new package, wants a new deal. And the interesting thing is that the other teams in the NFL, I feel in some ways indirectly dialed up some heat on the 49ers because if the report is true that several teams have inquired about Jauan Jennings, and the Niners are not interested in dealing him, that kind of tells you that, there's a bunch of teams out there that are willing to pay Jauan Jennings. So how do you handle the Jauan Jennings situation? This one's really, really complicated because you got precedents that you don't want to set. You got guys who just negotiated 2-year extensions a year ago and now outperformed it and are like, tear that up. It's a terrible precedent to set. Be like, oh, well, every time anybody outperforms their contract, they're just going to demand a new contract. And if they have any clout at all, the team's going to have to cave. And I don't know. I personally, this one rubs me wrong, and I like Jennings. I think Jennings is a good player. I admire Jennings and the way what he's been able to accomplish in his career, but almost every reasonable person that I've talked to is in total lockstep with me in that they are okay with giving him a slight bump, but if it gets into, there's a lot of speculation out there. Some people are speculating that he wants Jerry Jeudy money and Cooper Kupp money, which is like 15 to 17.5. If he wants that, I'm trading him because there's no way I'm giving him that. And then somebody else threw out a comp of Darius Slayton, who signed a 3-year deal for $36 million, which is $12 million a year, $22 million guaranteed. I look at that, John, as the absolute ceiling. I don't want to give him that either. But that's as far as I will go. And if it goes beyond that, I think the 49ers ought to draw a super hard line and trade him.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you're already paying Brandon Ayuk in one of the worst wide receiver contracts that's out there. You don't want to double down on that. And, I wanted to keep Jauan Jennings long-term over the Ayuk deal, but you can't go back on that now. I think that the way the 49ers structured the deal whenever they extended Jauan Jennings was we're going to let him play out these 2 years, and then we're going to let him go, and we're going to get a 4th to 5th round compensation pick back. That's just the way this is structured. So why would you trade Jauan Jennings? What are you going to get for him? A 4th? Maybe a 3rd? Like, why don't you keep him for this year? Let him play out his contract. Give him a little extra incentive. They did the same thing with Raheem Mostert a few years ago. Add just a couple million in guarantees. He outperformed his deal. So, you reward that a little bit without causing too much of a stir. The locker room is not going to be upset if Jauan Jennings gets a couple more million added to his deal. It's not going to upset your $40 million in cap surplus space that you have, second most in the NFL. Let him go elsewhere, sign a big deal, and get paid. He's going to get paid. The NFL does anything. It pays wide receivers way over what they're worth. And that's kind of where I come from, Larry. I don't want to pay any more wide receivers. You drafted 3 since the Jauan Jennings extension. You drafted Pearsall, you drafted Jordan Watkins, you drafted Jacob Cowman. Allow those guys to develop into roles, but keep him this year. I'm not trading him for a 3rd or 4th when I know I'm going to get a 4th or 5th comp pick next year after he contributes this year and will be the number 1 wide receiver for the 49ers for the first part of the season. So just give him a little bit extra, and that's how I would handle it. I'm not trading him unless I get a 2nd round pick, and I don't see that taking place. If somebody offers a 3rd, okay, I might listen a little bit. You put on a little extra gravy on top of that, but I think it's in the Niners' best interest to keep Jauan Jennings this year, find a way to compensate him just a little bit extra without reworking the deal completely to make him happy, then let him go get paid elsewhere next year, get that compensation pick. It's the way the 49ers are building.
The question is, can you satisfy the receiver? Because here's the question. I mean, everybody's got a different status in the room. He's got a major status in the room. He's a true tone-setting player, which is good and bad. If he's happy and he's thrilled, that's a great locker room guy. But if Jauan is not happy, that's not good. So
we've seen this before. You go back to Tennessee, he got kicked off the team. Because he was calling out the coaches on social media. They kicked him off the team. Coaches get fired. New coach comes in. They bring him back, turn him into a team captain. But, yeah, Jauan Jennings, I'm not saying he's a problem. I'm saying you've seen what Jauan Jennings being a problem look like in the past in college. And so, that you got to keep him happy. I'm with you 100, lock and step, Larry. You need to make this dude happy.
He either has – and if he's not going to be happy – here's the question. Does he want it all right now? It sounds like he wants it all right now. He wants a big money, long-term extension. And I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I would not do a big money, long-term extension. I'm not going $15 million a year. I'm not going. Somebody said he was going to get 18 or 19 a year. There's no way. There's no way. And I know he looked good in the mini camp. Before he sat out the second part, the second and third parts of the minicamp. He looked good in the initial parts of the OTAs, but that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. He's a good player. He's a dependable player. He's been more dependable than Ayuk and Debo. But, man, once you paid Ayuk, I pretty much think that you are out of the wide receiver paying business for the foreseeable future. And, The other thing is, it's Jauan Jennings was the guy last year. And in the year where he was the guy, the 49ers didn't win, and they were 32nd in wide receiver separation. So are you really in a rush to extend the receiver that was your central figure in a year where you really didn't get it done? It's not. He's a great story, right? But he doesn't create a lot of separation. I'm very nervous about extending him because I don't think he's got a step to lose. It would be like if Brock Purdy lost a step or two. I don't, or lost a little velo off the fastball. He might
And
not have requisite arm strength at that point. He doesn't have arm strength to lose, and Jauan Jennings doesn't have foot speed to lose, and he's 28. I don't know. I mean, yeah, the other thing is he never had a 500-yard season at all until last year. So I mean, it's like he had. Do you know how many touchdowns Jauan Jennings scored the 2 years prior to last year? Two. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if I can. I can give him a slight bump, and if it makes him happy, great. I think that's the solution. I think that's the solution everybody seeks. Um, that's the solution I would seek. But if it's like, hey, don't come back to me unless we're at least talking 2 years, 30 million, then what? Then you have an unhappy player who you're at an impasse with, who's a very powerful presence in the room. And in that situation, I think it's probably advantageous to trade him for a younger receiver and a draft pick and get down the road.
man, it'd be hard to pull that. One last point just on let's play the extend Jauan Jennings game. What happens when Ayuk gets healthy? And what happens if Ricky Pearsall does what people are hoping Ricky Pearsall is going to do? Is Jauan Jennings going to revert back to that slot only, kind of 30 snap a game role? Because is he going to take over for Ayuk or take over for Pearsall? I don't think that's the way the 49ers want to explore this down the road. So, like, even if you did extend him, is he going to revert back to those two? Like, the snap count and target share going to dip back down. So I think he needs to go somewhere where he'll be paid like a number two and used like a number two, because the 49ers don't use the wide receiver position that much. So that's why you got to find a way, happy medium, make him happy, give him a little bit extra, and then allow him to go sign whatever big term deal he can find. And somebody will pay him because he has a unique skill set. And I think people will value that, the toughness and all that. But I think this year, then that's it for Jauan.
It's really tough. It's a really tough dilemma for the 49ers. Amari Cooper, I mean, let's talk about some of these other options. Amari Cooper, what happened to Amari Cooper last year? He sucked.
He wasn't good for
He was terrible for Buffalo.
Yeah. And so
and what's Keenan Allen at this point?
He's big. He's basically a bigger tight end. He's a tight end plus or a wide receiver plus. But I think he can still get, a little bit of separation, still crafty routes, still good hands. But, man, you saw him at the Bears, and it was like, man, this dude get big. He get big.
So, I mean, okay, so, and I've thrown out a bunch of wide receivers. I'm not going to repeat myself with the names I've thrown out in the past. But I was looking at who's out there. What potentially, is there some diamond in the rough, somebody that could slip through the cracks? And you're talking about young guys, undrafted guys, and guys who are kind of dead-ended at their spot. Let me give you some dead-ended receivers. They've had some talent, there's no doubt, but they may be at a kind of a dead end where they're at. Kendrick Bourne, it looks like he's probably going to be on the outside looking in at the cutdown. He's kind of reached a dead end in New England. You have any interest in Kendrick Bourne?
I would love to have him. It just, how do you get him away?
How do you get him away from what?
From New England. Like, I mean,
I think they're going to cut him. I think they're going to cut him. I'm pretty sure they're going to cut him. Well, I mean, let's take a look at New England's depth chart. So they've signed Stephon Diggs. That means he's making the team. They signed Mac Hollins. That means he's making the team. They have Pop Douglas. So there's 3. They drafted Kyle Williams in the 3rd round. That's 4. The talk of their minicamp has been this Efton Chisholm III from Eastern Washington. Let's just say he makes it. That's 5. And so you have Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte, Javon Baker, who was their 4th-round pick last year, Jalen Polk, who was their 2nd-round pick last year, and they also have 3 other donkeys who they brought in as well. I don't know much about those guys. But so, it looks like Kendrick Bourne will compete with Boutte, Baker, and Polk, and maybe Chisholm for 1 spot, 2 spots. You know what I mean? So I think there's a very good chance that I'd be more interested in Chisholm, to be honest. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that kid from Eastern Washington. He's just all the guy does is catch the ball. You can't stop him. He's kind of like a Lad McConkey. He's a tiny little guy, but Kendrick Bourne is an interesting name. But I'm going to throw out two names of guys. So these guys are all kind of pedestrian. Like Kendrick Bourne to me is kind of pedestrian at this point. You know, he's slow. Tennessee's going to wind up cutting Treylon Burks. He's kind of a first round bust. You know, I think Houston may wind up cutting Christian Kirk. That's an interesting name because he can really run.
He's one of your A&M guys, and he's produced in, what, 4 different offenses now? 3 different offenses now? Like, he can produce.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Arizona in one of the early games a few years ago with Josh Rosen went up top early in a game to into Christian Kirk and burned the Niners for like a 40-yard catch. So he's out there. I was thinking of, is there anybody who's truly dynamic, you know, who's like exciting? I'd be, oh my God, it'd be exciting to have these guys. Well, I found 2 guys, but they both have problems off the field. And then one of them signed yesterday. The 2 guys I saw were Isaiah Bond, the former Texas receiver, who probably should have gone in the 2nd round or 3rd round, but he had an assault charge at the time of the draft. And since then, there's been he's said he's innocent. He's countersuing. They're, you know, suing for defamation, all these different things. So the Chargers just signed with Mike Williams retiring. The Chargers signed Isaiah Bond yesterday. What do you think of Bond, by the way? Because, I mean, to me, that would have been a really viable, interesting name. A guy who runs really well, who had a good career at Alabama, went to Texas, finished up there, was got, you know, kind of caught behind in a numbers game at Texas behind Golden and others. But Isaiah Bond is super fast, and at this point, I think that would be a ridiculous steal, but he went to the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm a Longhorn. So, like, yeah, I watched this dude play a considerable amount. I can tell you he's got all the talent in the world. He's got first-round talent, speed, and, you know, athletic, whatever. You can't trust that dude on the field. 49er or the Longhorns were pulling him off every 3rd down because he doesn't go back to the ball. He doesn't run the right routes. He doesn't catch the ball in pressure situations, but the talent is off the charts. And so the work ethic, the off the field, there's a lot of question marks, but talent will always get a chance in the NFL. And so, like, I totally get it. You know, didn't get drafted, finally lands with the Chargers, probably a good spot for him. And this is what you're relegated to. If you want, like, the criteria you put out there, like we want somebody electric, somebody exciting. These are the type of guys, Isaiah Bond, and, you know, we'll go through a couple other names that, like, man, this is what you get, because there's 90-man rosters are filled across 32 teams. You're picking at scratch. So if you want electric, you have to take a chance on either major injury
or major character. Yeah, one or the other, right? One or the other. No. What's the old saying, John? You know, everybody at this point's got big warts. Big warts. A lot of warts. Okay, so Bond is the first guy, but he's gone. The second guy is even crazier, but he's electric, man, and he's a great player. I mean, there's no question in my mind this guy can play, and that's Kadarius Toney. Now, Kadarius Toney is a dynamic punt returner. They called him the human joystick at Florida. The New York Giants took him in the 1st round. He's floated around because he's crazy. He's crazy. And then I think he's got some kind of an assault charge pending, but I don't know how credible it is or what. But once again, I mean, this guy's electric. You know, you want to actually add somebody who's going to be a scary weapon for the defense to defend. Isaiah Bond and Kadarius Toney are electric, you know, but then there's the off-field issues. Mm-hmm. But then you think, well, the Niners took a look at Damon Arnett as a corner the other day and ultimately didn't sign him. He went somewhere else. But, I mean, if you're going to take a look at Arnett, who's got a checkered past, then why wouldn't you take a look at some of these other guys with checkered pasts? But what do you think of that name? I mean, obviously, the Niners don't want to sign anybody who's assaulted people. And I think both these guys may have had issues with women, so that makes it even all the more. And sometimes you just want to say no, just no. Just like that's my line, and that would be my line too. But then
Well, they
there's
met with Mike Green, what, 4 times before
right,
the
and
draft?
also there's two sides to these stories. I mean, you got to do your due diligence. It's like, is this a guy in the wrong place at the wrong time, dealing with the wrong people who, you know, and there's nothing there, or is this guy really assaulting women? I mean, if he's assaulting women, there's no place on the Niners for him. I think they flirted with Ray McDonald and others during the Harbaugh era. It is interesting that Isaiah Bond was signed by the Chargers, run by Harbaugh. So maybe Harbaugh has lower standards. Maybe the Chiefs, who have signed Kareem Hunt multiple times. Should the Niners lower their standards to go sign like the Eagles took Jalen Carter in the first round. Jalen Carter's supposedly a bad guy. Supposedly he's done some bad things. He's a great player. Where do you sit on talent tolerance for bad guys?
I really do think, one of the main criticisms of the 49ers is, oh, Kyle Shanahan's too stubborn. He doesn't learn. He doesn't change, whatever. I disagree, especially whenever we look at personnel. Reuben Foster affected and changed the way in which the 49ers add talent. And they really haven't gone after a player with a checkered past at all, really, since that Reuben Foster ordeal. And whenever they cut him the day before a game, since then, it hasn't been all Boy Scouts. That's not what I'm saying. But, you just signed to Marcus Robinson, who was coming off a DUI, and another Florida wide receiver. That factors into the equation. But do you want to bring in a guy on the back end of the roster that can disrupt? And Kadarius Toney is so talented. There's a 2-time Super Bowl champ, whatever you want to say about him. I remember whenever he got drafted, and Urban Meyer, who was the head coach of the Jaguars, literally flipped out because he was about to trade up for him. People wanted this guy in the first round. He's so talented. His tape was incredible. It's just, man, the drop passes, the, not working hard, the off the field. I'd prefer somebody like a Justin Ross, who just got released, 6'4", former Clemson guy that does play the X, something like that. The Chiefs did him a solid and cut him because they basically said, you're not going to be a starter here. He asked for a release. They gave it to him. That would be somebody. Now, again, go back to your whole thing. Is this going to excite? Is this going to bring excitement and electricity and all that stuff? I don't know if that guy's out there right now. And so Kadarius Toney, if he's got his stuff straight, which I would question, but you'd have to meet with him. And I have no problem with the Niners meeting with these types of players and figuring it out. Just like you said, Damon Arnett, who has the most checkered past of anybody in the NFL. And the Niners have said they will turn over every stone. They will look everywhere they can, and they will see what helps this team. I just don't know. With guys like Isaiah Nayer and Tariq Owens and some of these guys, these young high upside players, how do you trust the guys you have in-house or do you not? What's that look like? And that's another problem with the PUP preseason. If Ricky Pearsall and, Ayuk, you don't get an extra roster spot versus the 90-man roster. If they stay on the PUP past the 53-man cut down, then you get an extra roster spot. But just because you have all these wide receivers not practicing, you don't get an extra slot for the 90-man roster if they're on PUP or NFI. They count. And so who are you going to kick out to sign Kadarius Toney or Justin Ross? Who are you cutting?
Well, I'm not worried about that. I mean, I know what you're saying. Yeah, you're going to have to create a roster spot. But, I mean, you got guys right now at wide receiver that aren't NFL. So I'd cut them. I'd cut Gage. That'd be the first guy I'd cut is Gage. And then probably after that, maybe Malik Knowles. And, in the camp era or part of the year, there are, you got some latitude because you got a 90-man roster. It's going to be a tough call at the cut down for sure. That's why I don't know if do you try to look for more of a difference maker? I'll give you 2 guys that I think I would definitely be kicking tires on as far as in my room, in my office. If I'm sitting there with whoever the Niners pro personnel director is right now, the college director, the pro personnel director, Lynch, he's sitting around with his lieutenants, and they're thinking about every possible wide receiver scenario. You would think, right? Let me give you two teams that I think might be worth keeping an eye on this summer. Okay, the first team I'm going to throw out is Tampa. Um, let's take a look quickly at Tampa's depth chart because I want to show you something here I think is interesting.
They got a lot of guys.
They got a lot of dudes. And they got a lot of spots covered. So look at this Tampa wide receiver core. Mike Evans is their one. Chris Godwin, their two. Emeka Egbuka is their three. Ohio State rookie, drafted in the first round, very polished. Those are their top three receivers. Jalen McMillan, I would say, is their four. Third-round pick last year, and he looks really good. So that's four right there. Then you've got Sterling Shepard, who's a very established NFL receiver, really good ball skills. You got Trey Palmer, very fast. You got Raheem Jarrett, who I know they like.
I like Raheem.
And then they drafted Tez Johnson in the 7th round. Now, I think this sets up for Tampa to try to slide Tez to their practice squad. Right? That's what this depth chart looks like to me. If you said, well, how's this going to go? Evans, Godwin, Egbuka, McMillan are going to make the team for sure. And then I would say one out of Shepard, Palmer, and Jarrett probably make it. And that may be all they go with. They may only go with 5. Now, they may go with 6. But, Tez could be a cut-down guy. He's tiny, but you saw at the Senior Bowl. I mean, weren't you at the Senior Bowl?
I wasn't at the Senior Bowl.
Oh, you weren't.
But I was breaking down some tape, so that's probably what you saw.
But, you're familiar with Tez. Tez didn't run a great 40, but it was uncoverable in Mobile. I mean, nobody could stay within 5 yards of him. And he's, he didn't run a great 40 time for the stopwatch, but he's quick as a hiccup. So he's a playmaker. So I what am I looking for? I don't care about shape or size, as I'm just looking at a guy who's tiny, and I'm talking about replacing Jauan Jennings. But I don't think it's about, you don't need the body type replication. What you need is a playmaker, and Tez is a playmaker. So Tampa is one team I'm looking for at the cut down. Do they cut
the 49ers were at Tez Johnson's pro day. He's at Oregon. Jordan James, they had how many? 11 personnel people there. And so they're familiar with him. They were at the Senior Bowl. So there's a lot of overlap there for sure.
The other name that I heard a buddy of mine suggest don't be shocked if this guy gets traded, and we'll go look at the Vikings, is Jordan Addison, who just worked out a deal this week, I believe. He resolved his DUI case. He pleaded no contest to a lesser charge. But this guy just has he's I don't know if he's a bad guy. He just has a lead foot. He's been driving way too fast, pretty consistently. But this is a really talented player. And yet look at their receiving room. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Naylor, and then they have Ty Felton from Maryland. Yeah, he's going to make the team. That's 3. Rondale Moore, that's 4. Obviously Addison is their guy, but if they were willing to listen to offers for Addison, I would be calling them because I think Addison's a difference maker.
Yeah, pure speed outside guy that can kind of do it all. I think if they're willing to get rid of him, sure. I doubt that they will. They seem to be all in, and he's so good. Great complimentary number 2 wide receiver, but the off the field issues are immense. There's no doubt about that.
And then if Addison makes their team, maybe Rondale Moore doesn't. And I know Shanahan's a big fan of Rondale Moore.
He was awesome at Purdue, man. Some of the best college tape I've ever seen. I still remember that Purdue versus Ohio State where he just lit them up, man. They could not stop that guy for anything.
Or you could just kind of wait, to see which rookie receiver shakes out at the deadline or which young receiver that you like shakes out. We talked about Green Bay, the Jets, and Kansas City are very loaded at wide receiver. But I mean, that as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I don't. The other one is with Isaiah Bond going to the Chargers. Brendan Rice could wind up getting cut. I don't know how you feel about Jerry's kid, but
yeah,
That's an
Pure X.
interesting.
That's what you need. You need that X wide receiver. He's a pure X. You know what I mean? So, like, as far as fitting that outside X wide receiver till Ayuk gets back, yeah, Brendan Rice plays that X role very, very well.
So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I want to reward JJ, but I want to do it on a shorter term deal. He also is signed this year for 7.5. Or do you ignore that, or do you make him play on the 7.5 and give him an extension? Because, I mean, why would you, if you're JJ, wouldn't you just say, look, Pearsall's out, Debo's gone, Ayuk's out maybe till Halloween or later. If I'm just healthy on this team, I'm going to produce enough for me to get a 3-year, $15 million deal in free agency from someone next year. Would you really be all about signing some short-term extension with the Niners? No. I don't know. I'd be interested to know the details on what JJ wants. Does he want the Niners to just rip up $7.5 million and give him 10 this year? Is that what he's about? Is he about rip it up and double it? Give me 15 this year? Because I ain't doing that. And is he want more than that? Or does he want to be a Niner for a long time and he wants them to rip up his 7.5 and sign him to a long-term deal? To me, that would make me nervous. Why is JJ not want to gamble on himself there? I mean, why is he? I'd be nervous if he was like, "Hey, man, I'll sign here for 2 years for $20 million." Why would I don't understand why he would do that. When if he gambles on himself and he hits, he's going to get 3 years, $45 million for sure. So
if he was
a very tricky thing,
million, I'd sign that deal right now for the 49ers. Like
if it was 2 years, $20 million.
Oh,
but if it's two, but okay, so that he's 28. Do you really want to pay Jauan Jennings $10 million a year at age 30? You want to commit? You want to commit to that right now?
I think that's a value. Again, you talked about Darius Slayton getting $12 million a year, 3-year deal. Jauan Jennings is going to get paid. He's only made a career $10 million. And I say that I'm not in that realm at all. But like for NFL wide receivers, that's peanuts. And so this dude is getting long in the tooth, and he is coming off his best year. He does have leverage. But what you're echoing is what the 49ers are saying. Dude, be the guy. You got to be the guy one more time and prove to everybody you can be the guy, then go get paid. It's in everybody's best interest. But Jauan Jennings, I'm like, dude, I need a little more. Any wide receiver doing what I'm doing is not getting paid what I'm getting paid right now. I understand that aspect of it.
Is it possible the Niners are like rebuffing all trade efforts simply because they're looking and going, you know what, we can't afford another $8 million in dead money?
No, not dead money so much, but like, yeah.
Wouldn't it be dead money if they traded him?
If they traded him, and there's an $8 million void cap hit next year, the way they structured the deal. So like, yeah, dead money, 49ers lead the NFL in that category big time. But I think it's just they want to roll that cap forward and have that space in the future when Brock Purdy's hits start to happen to be able to, be competitive and all those different, it's just the way they operate. So, but $2 million added on or a $3 million added on to Jauan this year, don't redo the deal. Just give them some more guaranteed money, make everybody happy. I think that's what's going to happen at the end of the day.
Should be interesting. And, it's never boring with the 49ers. That's for sure. Let's talk about the other significant news of yesterday, which is that Ben Bartch is on the NFI list. And, that's kind of interesting from the standpoint of Ben Bartch has had a hard time staying healthy throughout his career. How concerned are you about, we don't even know what the injury is and how long he could potentially be out or any of that, but what's your thought on Bartch?
Man, we have no clue. This is NFI, which means he got injured, not working out, not with the team. We don't even know what the injury is, but you are correct. This guy lost his job in Jacksonville because he couldn't stay healthy, gets brought over here, plays awesome, gets injured again last year, loses his job. And so now he's given the starting left guard's position. contract doesn't really guarantee, so you're not really paying him a lot, but you are pigeonholing Ben Barch in as starting left guard. Now, who knows what that is? Because man, there's like a four-person logjam competition. Do you move Matt Hennessy over to left guard, which he started games at left guard? Is it Spencer Burford, who's your swing tackle? Now Andre Dillard's out too, so you kind of have to keep him there at left tackle. Do you move him back in at left guard? He started games there. Nick Zakel, who they seem to be really high on. Connor Colby, 7th round. Like this might be one of the most aggressive camp battle positions that's open because of this injury. There's a lot of guys fighting for him. I'm not sure I'm confident in any of them.
I'm going to make a prediction as we sit here on the 19th. Now, I just really believe that guys who are hurt, and guys who play. And there's no rhyme or reason to it, and it's just the way it is. And if you look at Ben Barch's football card, he's had 49 NFL games in 5 years. He's only got 22 starts. 22 starts. So that's a lot of games to be active for where you're not starting. And he has had injuries, and he's never been able to play more than it seems like than 5 or 6 games in a row without being injured. So on one hand, you got Barch, who is got, good NFL body. I mean, you're talking about 6'6", 315, 320, long arms. His nickname's Smoothie King. I didn't realize that. He was the guy that drank that crazy smoothie with the Gatorade and the eggs and the grits it was like, I was talking to him about it. I'm like, bro, that sounds like it would just make me puke. And he's like, man, it puts on weight. So he put on a ton of weight. He went to St. John's in Minnesota, and put on a lot of weight, and made himself an NFL player, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So you got one guy who can't stay healthy for more than 4 or 5 games. Then you have Connor Colby. And Connor Colby started 50 games in college at Iowa. And to me, when you have 50 career starts, that means you show up ready to start, ready to play. This guy plays. So I'm going to take the guy right now who plays every game. I'm going to project Connor Colby, who's a big man in his own right. He's 6'6". He's about 310 pounds. It's funny. There's some debate whether how he looked in the OTAs. I thought he looked spectacular. He looks like a 5-year vet. He's very, very comfortable. He doesn't lunge. Yeah, it's a very similar system. And so this guy, I think there's a very good chance that Connor Colby winds up being their starter at left guard.
You know what's crazy is only 2 rookies have started for the 49ers week 1 in the past 3 seasons combined, both at guard. You had Spencer Burford 3 years ago, and you had Dominique Pooney last year. Why not add another rookie starter in Connor Cole? I think if the 49ers had it their way, that would be ideal. Get the rookie in there. I think Nick Zakel is probably going to get first crack at it after Ben Barch. They really like his pass protection. But, man, the upside of Connor Colby, who, I had a 5th-round grade on him, and wish he would have worked out just a little bit better. But like you said, he's looking good once the pads come on. These guards are going to get a test because you're going against Alfred Collins, CJ West. Like, they're going to see, because those rookies are going to come out firing. So you're going to get a trial by fire. That training camp battle is going to be a lot of fun. And best news available is if Connor Colby wins that job. And then you got Dominique Pooney and Connor Colby as your guards for the long-term future. Oh, sign me up.
What do you think, now Connor Colby was first-team All-Big Ten in 2024. He started 13 games, all at right guard. Mm-hmm. What do you think of taking Pooney and putting him at left guard? This guy was a 4-year starter, Connor Colby. He played guard in what they're calling primarily a move-oriented rush attack, which is very similar to the Niners. He started 50 games at Iowa. He's well-versed on the inside and outside zone. To me, he's durable, he's dependable. 50 career starts in 4 seasons. I see a guy who understands what he's doing on every play. He seems like he truly understands what he's doing. He doesn't have, he's not the right guy for everybody, right? Some people feel his feet are too slow. Some people feel that, he's not quite what you're looking for physically. But Forster really liked him, wanted him badly, and now they've got this kid. He's 6'6", 309 pounds, 10-inch hands, 32-inch arms, a little bit shorter arms than ideal. But I say this: he's a very serious kid, and all the guy knows is, starting on a really well coached line. I think that might be one of the surprise picks. I said this around the draft. I mean, I like Barch. I mean, Barch is a guy that I have good dialogue with. He's a good dude. He's a fun guy to talk to. But if I had to say who I feel more confidence in, I've got more confidence in Colby. Colby has done nothing but play at a pretty high level, where Barch is, plays 2-3 games and gets hurt, plays 3 or 4 games, gets hurt, really can't stay on the field. The NFL is 17 games, so I think there's a very good chance. You're thinking Zakel, and there's no doubt that Zakel is a guy that they badly want to be on this team. So
Chris Forster loves
probably
that.
Right.
And
he's Brock Purdy's best buddy.
Yeah, I want it to be Connor Colby, but like if I had to, the Chris Forster, like put that hat on. Now you talked about like moving Dominic Pooney to the left side. Connor Colby did start 6 games at left guard for Iowa, and so he's played on the left side. Now Dominic Pooney played left tackle for pretty much his entire career. Now I could go back to my, my first year I coached offensive line, and there are some guys, you can't move left to right or right to left. You can
especially at tackle
guard sometimes, but yeah, sometimes guys just can't. Derek Zoolander, I can't hang a Louis. You know what I mean? Like the footwork is mirrored, it's similar, but some people just struggle with that. But both Dominic Pooney and Connor Colby have experience playing on the left side. I'm keeping Dominic Pooney where he is. I am not budging that guy because I don't want a weak link next to Colton McKivitz. I would rather a weak link be next to Trent Williams personally. So I would keep Dominic where he is because you don't want Jake Brendel, rookie, then Colton McKivitz next to each other. That terrifies me at night. But
I think Burford, from what I've been told, is going to be used exclusively at tackle.
I think so too, especially with Dillard now on the pup. Like that makes it even more likely.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Pleasance, I told you, looked like a ton. And also, Forster's a big fan of Drew Moss, so we probably shouldn't forget Drew Moss. I'll tell you, the other guy who I thought looked really good, and I think Brendel's going to be challenged this summer, is Matt Hennessy. If Jake Brendel doesn't perform well, Hennessy will take that job at some point. Hennessy, to me, looks pretty athletic for a center. I mean, he's probably the best backup center I think the Niners have had. To me, he's a little bit better than Nugent, who I also think has some talent, but I think Hennessy has a little bit more everything, a little bit more size, a little bit more strength, a little bit more movement ability, a lot more experience. So, it's going to be interesting. All right, so we've talked the entire live stream about Ayuk and Barch for the most part. I'll throw it to you before we hit the supers and get out of here. Is there a third topic, John, that I've thrown out the first two? I'll let you go to the third one if you have a topic you want to discuss here before we get to our supers.
Yeah, probably one of the biggest shocks of this injury report is Yetur Gross-Matos. I thought they would have waived him over Leonard Floyd and kept Leonard Floyd. Definitely outperformed him, and I'm still very upset at Yetur Gross-Matos for that Geno Smith, touchdown run where he just basically quit on the play. But he was exhausted trying to get out. Coach wouldn't get him out. But like now that he's on IR, yeah, the Bryce Huff trade helps. You pick Michael Williams, but there's still a prominent role in this defense for Yetur Gross-Matos. And so if he is out, man, Sam O, who turned into kind of a fan favorite, that is a player who I think stands a lot to gain and could be one of those NASCAR package guys where you kick him inside, the bull rush, the stout, 6'1", 270, just plays with a lot of leverage. But the defensive end room is light. Like there's, even with Bryce Huff, even with Mikel Williams, you don't have a lot of quality depth there. If Yetur's going to miss more time like he did last year, this could be a major problematic position where, man, you're going to need even more bodies.
Yeah, I would say get ready. I've done the deep dive at wide receiver. I've done the deep dive at quarterback, to see like what every team has in the league and how it's all going to shake out. I really haven't done it for the defensive line because I just I'm a believer that there's such a need for defensive linemen that it's really probably slim pickings as to who winds up being cut on the D line at tackle or end. It's just I don't believe that really good players wind up reaching the cut status, but the Niners last year and the year before had to shop in this area. Who were some of the guys they brought in last year? They brought in some horrible players. I mean, just really, really bad players. Who was the guy they brought in? Taco Charlton. They had Taco Charlton. They had another guy.
Ron Jackson, Jonathan Garvin. Those two guys are still with the team, but they were brought in last year as well.
Yeah, Tehran is not the worst. Garvin is nothing. Garvin, no. I think Tehran Jackson, to me, Tehran Jackson, Robert Beal will be two guys to kind of watch to see if they can do anything. But get ready for a parade of defensive end prospects. 3 days of this guy, 4 days of that guy, a game here, 10 days there. I think they're going to wind up. I think you're going to wind up seeing. I'll set the over under at 3.5. There'll be 3.5 defensive linemen added between training camp's first day and the cut down. Wow. Three defensive linemen that aren't on this team will be brought in between now. I'll say 3.5. I'll say either 3 or 4. I'll leave it at 3.5 and go under.
Yeah, you just don't have the depth there, and it overcomplicates the defensive tackle spot as well because you are counting on that NASCAR pass rush, defensive end coming in and relieving defensive tackles for snaps. So the lack of depth here bleeds over into the defensive tackle a little bit more so than other teams fill. And I think both those rooms are light to start with. And so thankfully you got the rookie signed, but this is an issue with this roster. Hopefully these players all get activated off the pup relatively soon. And this is much ado about nothing, but it does show you, Larry, the 49ers have sacrificed depth this year in exchange for more cap room and in exchange for rookies getting snaps. So you have to rely on that. And this is something that's going to rear its head over the 17-game season. The lack of veteran depth on this team permeates almost all positions besides probably safety and guard. But it's going to be an issue during parts of this season.
Well, and this is a prime example of what I was talking about when I bashed the Niners for being relatively cheap, being 26th in the undrafted free agent market, despite saying goodbye to so many veterans and having a roster with so many openings. I mean, now you've got this injury to your Gross Matos. You know what would be nice to have? It would be nice to have Jared Ivey, who played at Ole Miss and was about 280 pounds and
Seattle,
was undrafted. Oh, but Seattle signed him. They have a bunch of guys, but they signed him, and you didn't sign him, despite the fact you needed him because you were trying to pinch pennies. And that's just the bottom line. If you had Jared Ivey, I wouldn't be worried about Yetur Gross-Matos' injury. But since you don't have Jared Ivey, now it's like a real problem. So, yeah, I mean, this is a classic spot of, this is why they should have spent more in the undrafted market. That was really short-sighted. I think that probably came from ownership. All right, let's talk about George Odom and the safeties position. So they're going into the safety. They're going into training camp. Malik Mustafa is their best safety. He's hurt. George Odom's their most established safety. He's hurt. And Odom's a special teams ace. And then you have Jair Brown, who was hurt last time the team took the field. So I don't know his status. So what do you got? You got no continuity at all. Richie Grant, new player. Jason Pinnock, new player. Marquise Siegel, new player. Jalen Mahoney is a second-year player, but he never played. So you have no continuity at all at safety with anybody who played for you last year. how should the Niners be concerned at safety? And there's a lot of talk that the Eagles are going to go sign. Is it Simmons? Is that his name?
Justin Simmons.
Justin Simmons. There's a lot of talk that the Eagles may sign Justin Simmons to take one of their safety roles in their defense, and that Simmons obviously played for Fangio in Denver, and there's a relationship there. So I'm hearing Simmons to the Eagles might happen. Should the Niners jump in and add Simmons? How severe are the needs at safety with the injuries to Mustafa and Odom?
The one thing I will say is the safety position, they at least got vets that are worthy players. Like they're capable players. And so Jason Pinnock's going to start. Now the competition for the other safety is going to be Richie Grant, who looked good in minicamp by your admission, versus Jair Brown. Does Jair Brown go back to what he showed as a rookie, or was he under Nick Sorensen one of the worst players in the NFL? What do you get this year? So Jason Pinnock's starting until Malik gets back. And, man, the fact that Marquis Siegel, this is probably another one of the positives, was not on the PUP, was not on NFI. So that is huge because he is the fastest safety you have in the room, big bodied, can kind of do it all. So, you have players, you just got to see how they're going to shake out because, like you said, they're all new. Jason Pinnock played under Robert Saleh his first year at the Jets, but he was a cornerback. Now he's a safety. So that's a switch, but he knows the scheme relatively. But you do have bodies. You really, really do. And so the Jason Pinnock at one, and then Richie Grant versus Jair Brown as the other starting safety. Maybe Marquis Siegel surprises. That would be best case situation. But I do think that there's a battle there. I don't think you have to overpay for a safety right now with Malik coming back. I don't know what the timeline on that's going to be. But eventually, the 49ers want it to be Malik Mustafa and Marquis Siegel, but Jason Pinnock is a nice holdover until then.
Last question. And then we'll hit the supers. And then, by the way, I got somebody here saying, Krug, Ruben's like, Krug better answer my question. LOL, stand by for maybe a hard one.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the question, but Ruben's posted. Appreciate you, Ruben.
Ruben, start this. Well, come on, Ruben. Ruben's all over. Bang, bang before comments get filled.
Okay, there we go. I like the intensity.
Okay. So there's a super from Ruben. Okay, but before we get to that, I'll share the screen one more time because Niners Nation, our good friend Kyle Posey, has an interesting. He's asking this question: who will be the biggest surprise at 49er training camp? And he's going with Isaiah Nayer. He's like, the process of elimination leads us to undrafted rookie wide receiver Isaiah Nayer. Well, I'll say this, John, I think we would both agree on this one. The way this sets up, if Isaiah Nayer really is this awesome player that for whatever reason, flew beneath the radar and wasn't quite ready physically, mentally, emotionally at his various stops, but maybe now the light went on in Lincoln last year. He had a good year for Nebraska. If Isaiah Nayer wants to step up and play like a third-round pick, it's a wide open. He's got just a wide open runway to just show everybody what he's got. And he was impressive in the OTAs. He is 6'4", 220. He does run 4.4 flat. He does have a 40-inch vertical. He does have 36-inch arms. He's got crazy measurables. I love Posey, man. Kyle Posey's one of my favorite Niner people to read,
great dude.
I've always enjoyed my conversations with Kyle Posey. I think he does a really, really good job. And I'll tell you, this is a deep pull, and this is a major swing for the fences, right? I mean, this is like low. I mean, this guy body catches still. I mean, you see that for like freshman football. So I mean, he's raw. Isaiah Nayer's raw, but dude, what Isaiah Nayer has as far as skills and measurables, you just don't see it. You do not see 6'4", 220, 4.4 flat, 40-inch vertical, 36-inch arms. I mean, that's length and speed for days, and then he wound up making a play in the minicamp that was crazy. So you know what? There's a scene from Star Wars. Are you a Star Wars fan?
Oh yeah, here we go.
The
man.
original Star Wars. It was Princess Leia, and then all that came out of the droid. Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. I almost feel like we could say it right now about Isaiah Nayer. Isaiah Nayer, you're our only hope. Pearsall's hurt. Ayuk's hurt. Debo's gone. DeMarcus is suspended. Isaiah Nayer, you're our only hope. But no, I'm just joking. But that's a great one. That is a great one by KP. I'll throw it to you, John. Give me your surprise. That's a great name right there as a surprise candidate. Give me your surprise candidate.
Man, if you could get one of either Isaiah Nayer or Jordan Watkins to seize a role, any role for week 1, that would be ideal for the 49ers because they need that outside X wide receiver. And so you have a little bit of youth competition there. That would be huge. But I'm going to come out and I'm going to say Jacob Cowing, at the wide receiver position. I think that with what he's done this offseason, we've seen the electric playmaking ability with that 50-yard catch against the Chiefs. Gosh, man, imagine if he just gets an opportunity. He's learned the playbook now. He's out of Shanahan's doghouse. Gosh, Jacob Cowing would be so ideal. And he could play outside too with that 4.3 speed. So I'm going to go Jacob Cowing staying at the wide receiver position. Not as deep a dive as Kyle Posey, but Kyle Posey's a great dude. So
yeah, I'm going to go Connor Colby. I really think that's live. I think Connor Colby, because I'm looking at the Niner depth chart at left guard. You have Ben Barch. They list Burford as the backup at left guard. They list Sekel as the backup at right guard. They list Colby as number 3 at left guard, and Zach Johnson as number 4 at left guard. So technically, if Burford is going to be a tackle, then Colby might be the current starter at left guard, and I think he's polished. I think I'm going to go Connor Colby, and if it wasn't Connor Colby, my other deep, I like Corey Kiner, but I think I would go with Sebastian Valdez. I think Sebastian Valdez, there's something there. There's something there with Sebastian Valdez.
Elite strength, man. Elite strength.
Yeah, no question. All right, let's hit some supers, and then we'll bolt for the door. We got Ruben. He says, super off the rip. Jennings is our wide receiver 1 right now. Resign. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say that, but, what if he says, I want $15 million? Then what?
Yeah.
I think you got to – I want to re-sign him. John wants to re-sign him, but I think we all have to have a walk-away number. Wouldn't you say? I mean, don't you think we got to have a walk-away number? I mean, I don't think you can just say, oh, you know what? Spot Track's like, give him 2 years, 38.1. Nope.
No. He'll get it. He'll get that. Now, people overpay for wide receivers in today's market, but I want to go against the market. I want to pay the devalued position. I want to spend on linebacker and, running back and things like that where you're getting a value because they're undervalued. I don't want to pay any top tier wide receiver money at all. Like that is just, I think that market has just gone bananas, and I don't see the value in team construction personally there.
Ruben Bocanegra 7113 says, can you call Kyle out and say we can get wide receiver like Keenan and Amari, also Simmons at safety, and tell them to spend money, screw soccer during interviews? I think there's probably some punctuation there. I don't think he means screw soccer during interviews. I think he means screw soccer and then
I think he's talking about how Jed York owns the soccer team, and so he's pinching pennies here to help pay for the international soccer, teams that he owns and whatever else. So Ruben, I think I kind of understand. You speak my language when it comes to no punctuation, so I can kind of decipher it a little bit. But I think he's trying to get you to call Kyle out during these interviews. But I don't know what that is going to do besides make a really good sound clip.
John, you're a teacher. Do you have a red pen nearby?
Oh, man. I'd freaking...
Can you call out Kyle? Can you call Kyle out? Question mark. Period. Or no period. Then get to the new sentence. We can get a wide receiver like Keenan and Amari, also Simmons at safety, period. Get rid of that and. Tell them to spend money, comma, screw soccer, comma, or maybe would it be like more like parentheses? I don't know, John.
Yeah.
I might have
Asking you to do this during the interview. Doing the interviews, tell them to spend more money and screw soccer. So we'll move that to the front. But yeah, and I get it. There's frustration when you have $40 million cap space just sitting there. I understand. Yeah, the frustration.
I'll say this too. I don't need the big name guys. I don't need Keenan Allen. I don't need Amari Cooper. I could be happy with Giles Jackson. I could be happy with Elijah Badger. I could be happy with lesser names that aren't necessarily star names, but I understand. Most fans know Keenan, they know Amari, so it's easy to go to those names. Issa Rapp says, think the 49ers should trade for a veteran wide receiver, just like in 2019. We have too many young wide receivers. We need a true leader like Emmanuel Sanders. You can't have slow guys that don't separate. So I don't mind a veteran, but it's got to be a veteran that can separate and still play. So I think it's yeah. I mean, I'd be interested in. I think in the new realm of the Niners, and I don't know how you feel about this, John, but I think the new era of the Niners is find some guys who can separate. I think that's what Cowing is. That's what Watkins is. That's what Demarcus Robinson is. And so I'd be looking for more guys who could run. Like if I could get Rondale Moore, if Minnesota, I threw at Jordan Addison in a trade because he's, I think potentially going to be dealt. I've read that. But if he's not going to be dealt and they're going to cut Rondale Moore, I think Rondale Moore would be the guy that I'd want. I want a guy who if you put the ball in his hands, I want a guy that opposing defensive coordinators are afraid of. I want more speed on this offense. I mean, think about the Niners. Kittle, power. All the guys, the Niners are such a power-oriented team. Let's transition from power to some separation and some speed.
Yeah.
That big playability. Because what happens is when the 49ers fall behind, Shanahan gets all the criticism. But it's partly because of their personnel. They don't have the personnel to score quick. So they don't have that quick score capability. So it's like teams don't fear them running by them. So I think they could use more speed. Ruben drops this one. How can we stop being freaking injured? Is it, what is that? TAF? I'm not sure what TAF.
Football's 100% injury sport. I mean, everybody gets injured. The 49ers, when you don't build your roster to have those backups, you're going to feel the injuries a little bit more. So when you're dependent upon your first string only, the 49ers are a little guilty of that. You're going to feel the injuries more so whenever you don't allow a running back 2 or really a tight end 2, or you're going to feel those injuries a little more. Part of that's the structure of the Shanahan roster that they're putting together, that you're going to feel injuries more. And the 49ers have one of the oldest rosters in the NFL, so that doesn't help either.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're an hour and 12 minutes in, but we're going to call it right here. Good stream. John, tell people, and once again, why don't we call this up? Let me see if I can do this, because I think I had this before. Actually, let me go to John's Twitter.
Oh, what's
call up? Well, I wanted to promote your trip. Let me hear.
Oh, thank you, man. Man, we got some news too. The legend Frank Gore is going to be joining us week 1 in Seattle. Talk about hitting the season off with a bang. You got the divisional game. We're going to be up at Seattle, and Frank Gore is going to come party with us the day before the game. We got a tailgate set up and all those things. So all you got to do is go to the TickPick app or tickpick.com. If you don't want to download the app, it's free. In fact, better than free. If you use promo code Niners, NINERS, you get $10 off. So you get to buy tickets to a tailgate, a game, whatever. Go to TickPick, just search 49ers Rush. Party with Frank Gore. Come on, man. It's Seattle, enemy territory. That's what I'm talking about.
Frank Gore. Frank Gore's the man. Future Hall of Famer Frank Gore tore both of his knees before he ever played a down in the NFL, and then played endlessly. I mean, 3rd leading rusher all time. Awesome. And there's the link. There's the John's a great follow on X at JL_Chapman. But if you follow him on X, you can then he's got this pinned up top, so you can see this. And then, by the way, we should show you the 49er Rush Trip Road events. If we can
I'm
click
pumped,
on that,
man.
there we go. Seattle, New Orleans, Tampa, Houston, New York, Arizona, Cleveland, Indy. And here's the link right here, right, John?
Yep, there. You just click that, takes you through all of our events. Larry, you're coming to one of these. You got to pick one.
Absolutely.
You got to pick one.
We're thinking maybe road trip to Seattle. When is that? Is that week 1?
Week 1.
That's week 1. I wouldn't mind hitting Seattle. Hitting Seattle.
Blast,
Arizona is what week?
Arizona is.
Do you know what the date of Arizona is?
Yes, I do. They are
in
order.
Wouldn't mind going to Arizona, play a little golf.
Dude, it's going to be nice.
Is it going to be is it going to be smoking, or will it cool down by then?
November 15th is our day before party. November 16th is our tailgate, the day of the game.
That might be the trip right there. We might have to go Claudaddy Arcades road trip to Arizona before Thanksgiving.
That sounds like a blast, man.
I like that, man. Play a couple rounds of golf. Get out of the bad weather into Arizona weather. Go party with you guys. Do we have the itinerary for the Arizona trip, or do you have
we're going to be in the Westgate district, right next to the stadium where they've got like the Tipsy Putt and all that kind of stuff where all the restaurants are. So we'll be right there. We rent out a full venue. We'll be at it's Salt and Tequila. That's usually the spot we have it at. We might have it outside and rent out the foyer there, but usually Salt and Tequila is the spot we're at right there, which is such a cool establishment.
That might be it. Now I got my kid playing JV ball this year, so I got to check the schedule and cross connect. But we're definitely going to hook up for one of these. And everybody right here, I think I did retweet it, but it's right there. Seattle, New Orleans, Tampa, Houston, New York, Arizona, Cleveland, Indy, and the link is right there. And of course, if you follow John on X, JL_Chapman, is probably the best way to connect. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. We told you we were going to tell you about Claudaddy Arcades. Over John's head is the link, or not the link, but the logo for Claudaddy Arcades. Claudaddy Arcades is a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. And when you stop by, tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. Big thanks to Claudaddy Arcades for supporting the Krug Show. They came aboard during spring training, and they're going to be sponsoring some of our travel this year. So thank you, Claudaddy. And of course, they got a brand new location opening in Capitola Mall and Visalia Mall later on this year. So check out Claudaddy Arcades. As we told you before, check out Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Anthony Catania is a great follow on IG at Sharp Corners 831 on the gram. And then, of course, Pig and a Pickle. Damon and Mary, the owners of Pig and a Pickle. Amazing. Thank you to Damon and Mary for sponsoring the Krug Show. Check them out. They're in Corte Madera and they're in Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. So thanks to all of our sponsors for sponsoring the Krug Show. And John, have a great Saturday, man. We won't talk to you next week, but we'll do it in a couple weeks. And man, next time we get together, we're gonna have a lot more to discuss. As far as I will have seen a couple weeks of practice, we'll be on the verge of a preseason game. We'll have a lot to get to. So we'll see you in a couple weeks, John. Great to see you.
Peace, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks to everybody. Have a great Saturday.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared.